Sorry we got so rudely cut off. What I was going to say is this answer means two separate answers, or you can also write it backwards. So x equals -7 plus or minus the square root of 87. Both of those are correct answers. Your decimals are correct. Let's do one more example and then come back and do those steps, okay? So this one, let's see, how about, this is number 10 on the practice problems. Number 10 is x squared, okay, minus 10x plus 26, okay, equals 8. Okay, so step one, get everything on the other side except for these two that have the x. So that just means subtracting our c or any constant numbers. Constant numbers are numbers that don't have variables, are always going to be the same number. That 26 will always be 26. Now, what do we have? X squared minus 10x. Oh, okay, rewrite it. Step two, rewrite it, but leave a blank space because this cancels on this side, equals. If I start at positive 8 and I go backwards 26, I end up at -18. I did that in my head. I hope it's right. I'm going to check. I just have to, you guys. Let's do 8 minus 26. -18. I need to learn to trust myself. Okay, now, step 3. Take half of b, which is right here. Half of -10 is -5. And remember this number, you need to save that. But we take half of it and then we square it. So -5 times -5 is positive 25. Then we add that to one side. And what we do to one side, we have to do to the other. Okay? Now, we can turn this. This is called completing the square. We've added on a number in order to make this a complete square. So this one actually is going to be a negative because it's -5. So we're going to change this part of the equation to x minus 5 squared equals -18 plus 25 is positive 7. Okay. Now, at this point, we have two different options. We can solve it. Let's put that on this side, which means finding the zeros or x-intercepts, finding our x values, right? Or we can turn it into vertex form. So let's do both. Let's solve first this time. It's kind of easier. If we solve first, we don't have to, the first step, we don't have to move that 7, right? The first step is taking the square root of each side, which makes this just x minus 5 equals, this is important, ladies and gentlemen, and potatoes, plus or minus the square root of 7. We now have two different answers, which we need. This has two x-intercepts, two real solutions. Then we add 5 to both sides, okay? And x is equal to plus or minus 7, the square root of 7. There's no real solution there, so, or I'm sorry, there's a real solution there, but it is not rational. So we'll just leave it as the square root of 7 plus 5, or you could write it as x equals 5 plus or minus the square root of 7. You'll see it both ways. Here we have found the x-intercepts, okay? If you can tell me tomorrow the decimal answers for this. Don't tell me. Bring me a piece of paper with the decimal answers for this. The first 3 people get some candy. Okay? Turn it into vertex form just means I have to get the 7 to the other side. So if we take it from here, x minus 5 squared equals 7. Subtract 7 from each side. We have x minus 5 squared minus 7 equals 0. So what's my vertex? If you bring me up something with the vertex, again, a candy. Now, I guess it would be possible for you to get 2 pieces of candy here. What is the vertex? I'm not going to tell you, but don't forget something about the opposite number. And what is A equal to? I need the vertex and I need what is A equal to there. Okay, so we have vertex form, but you need to tell me what is A and what is the vertex. Okay, let's do another practice problem. We have time, and your guys are going to have to do these practice problems anyway. How about number 12? Because I have a feeling number 12, this is the first time I'm doing it, may end up being a little bit funny. Let's see. We have b squared plus 2b equals negative 20. All right. So look, I don't have to move the 20 over. I already have my b's on one side and this negative 20 on the other side. So let me see if my intuition is correct. Here, I need to take half of 2, right? So this 2 is the same as this 2, and it's positive this time, okay? 1. And then 1 times 1, or 1 squared, is also just 1. So I'm going to add that. So b squared plus 2b plus 1 equals negative 20 plus 1. Cool. Now, let's see, I turn this into my perfect square, which means I have to grab this number. Okay, and let's make that blue. This number is going to be the same as, and it's positive, this number. Those two, that's where I got that number from, was half of 2 up here, okay? And remember, this whole equation, this whole part of the equation is the same as this. They just look different, okay? But they're the same. And I just want to get rid of that so I can, this is easier, equals negative 19. And I just got that by adding 1 to negative 20. All right, so now I have my 2 choices. I can solve it, and I can turn it into vertex form. Let's do vertex form first. B plus 1 squared equals negative 19. Add 19 to both sides. And we get b plus 1 squared plus 19 equals 0. So there's vertex form. So what is my vertex? It's negative 1. Okay, so it's this, but it's the opposite. It's negative 1, comma, positive 19. Right? And then what is A? A is right here, right? A should be right here, but since there's nothing there, we know it is just 1. Okay? So you might be able to use this information to solve those ones I was asking you from the previous question. if we're going to solve it, and here's where things might get interesting, ladies and gentlemen. If we're going to solve it, if we take the square root of both sides first, right? We take the square root of b plus 1 squared equals the square root of negative 19. There's my problem. There is no real solution to the square root of a negative number. So at this point, I already know no real solution, which means it's not going to cross the x-axis. Okay, so I can do a sketch. I have all of the good information, right? I know that my vertex is negative 1 and positive 19, right? Positive 19, negative 1. There's my vertex. What's the other piece I know? My A is 1. It's positive, which means it's going to be a smiley face. So, of course, oh, and I do know that it crosses the y-axis at positive 20. So I do know that it's going to look like this. Well, you guys, obviously, it's not going to cross the x-axis at all. So go back, try to write your steps. I said them. I said most of them. I would love for you to be able to try to write them down. We'll talk about them in class. And we can do some more practice problems.